as far as I am concerned, this is a perfect project. It is field-based, poverty-based, problem-based, solution-seeking. And you even have maps for extrapolation domains. I will help you pray that you get continuing funding. I am quite serious about this. You know, this is the first time I've seen something where everything seems to have been taken care of. My one question is somebody documenting and analyzing the partnership component of the project? Because you say that this is an exemplary model. So I think it's got to be written up for lessons. Congratulations.
Thank you, Helia. It's not perfect, I can tell you that, but yes, there is an institutional history being written for the project, so hopefully it'll capture all of these things. I was reading your question about where is gender, and you forgot that that's missing at the moment. And so my answer is that all of the farming seems to be done by men in Bangladesh. But I'm going to tell you a funny story in a minute. The women take over at the post-harvest stage, seed storage stage. But in the homestead production system, which is also part of our project, which we didn't mention today, that's where there's tremendous scope for empowerment of women. And maybe you remember this seminar that Kabir just gave just recently. So through our World Fish Partners, we have started to do some women-led participatory work to increase the productivity of the homestead systems, primarily based around the ponds, but in a way that it doesn't jeopardise the many uses of the water in the ponds. They're not just for agriculture. But the funny story is that we, in our pilot catchment, we gave all the farmers enough high-yielding variety rice to grow the whole area. One farmer's wife came sheepishly back to Manaranjan Mondal. His wife had destroyed the seeds. She didn't want him to grow that rice. He was coming back to secretly get some more. So women do have a bit more of a say in what happens out in the fields than we probably know about, and it's something that we need to find out too.
Normally, I wait until Dr. Castillo has asked her question because she's older than me. But she's usually at the end, but now she's first. First I'd like to say that I would second her remarks. This is one of the best presentations I've heard. I think that I've learned something, even though I know you two people, I didn't know exactly what you were doing, and I do water management. My first question is this. What does the experience of the Mekong, where they get 5 tons per hectare twice a year, what does the experience of the Mekong, the lessons that we can learn from what they've done in Vietnam on the Mekong? And more importantly, in the future, for IRRI, what can we learn from both Bangladesh and the Mekong that would be relevant for the Irrawaddy? This is where the rice production is going to increase. And as Bob Ziegler says in his slide, 50% of the increase in rice production over the last 25 years has come from the deltas. So it's not just that you've given a good presentation, but you're in the heart of the problem. And that's really where we should be putting more of our own assets. Two of you, yeah, but you're a minuscule compared to the plant breeders in this place. So anyway, that's my comment.
So yes, Randy, there's already been some learning from the work in idea of what yet, but as you know, we're doing scoping study early next year. Let's see.
I might take up a little bit on the Myanmar side. I may also ask David Johnson to add a little bit more, since he's been working there much longer than I. Just started working with David in Myanmar, looking at similar issues. How can we develop the same kind of information to describe the different cropping systems and to look for potential areas where you could move to more productive, innovative systems. We're learning a huge amount there as we go across the townships, and we see in Myanmar a wealth of information at the local level. The management and the understanding of the cropping systems right down at the town and village level is incredible. It's so exhilarating to go there with our maps that we've prepared and then get the interaction of the township around coming along the map, telling us where we've got it right, telling us where we've got it wrong, and really helping us to understand what's there now and what could potentially be there in the future. I don't want to overstep the limits of my knowledge on Myanmar, so maybe if David would like to add a few more words about what we're doing, because I think there are some similarities.
There in Myanmar, we're working in the IRRI Delta and also in the central dry zone. We're at the stage where we're looking closely at what farmers are doing now, and we're looking at the availability of fresh water in the dry season, and the progression of salinity up the river delta in the coastal townships. There are clear areas where farmers are only growing the single crop of rice. They've got no opportunity currently for the subsequent cropping. There are areas where there's a transition, where if they're lucky, if they get an early harvest, they can take a second crop of pulse. And then as you move away from the sea, then there's an area where you can grow 2 crops of rice. So we're looking closely to describe what's there now. In the dry zone, we're looking more at how farmers are utilising the available rainfall and what water there is available. And the idea is that once we've got that information, then we'll start to look at what are the opportunities in terms of using shorter duration varieties, very much in a similar way to the work that has been demonstrated for Bangladesh. So we'll be looking certainly to draw heavily on the experience in Vietnam and Myanmar, Vietnam and Bangladesh, and apply that to Myanmar.
More questions?
Yeah, Rizal, and it's really great. From what I notice in most of these very successful projects, especially in places like Bangladesh, they end up to slow down by the end of the project and probably disappear at some time. And you don't see either a follow-up or uptake. So I wonder if there is any effort in this project to upscale this also with the government, because I'm sure the Minister of Agriculture will be very interested to know about these developments and actually put more effort into making sure that they start applying it on a large scale.
Yes, there are efforts. We've had 2 sessions last year, one with the Bangladesh Planning Commission and some people they invited there, and we've had one at the LGED, Local Government Engineering Department, and they also invited some of the donors, Dutch and Japanese and some others, and we're hoping to have a meeting with a subcommittee from the new CGIAR Consultative Advisory Group or something like that, that's been set up in Bangladesh in November this year. So we're trying. Maybe we should go straight to the Minister of Agriculture.
I'm going to reinforce what you just said. When the Minister was here a few months ago, in one of the presentations she made to one group of us, she stressed out as being the target for food and rice productivity increases. So you'd align with her policy. I know it's only 10% of the acreage or whatever the numbers are, but it still can be a major contribution if managed correctly.
I think one thing we maybe did emphasize is that when you look across the rest of Bangladesh, cropping intensity is quite high. It's the coastal zone. It's the one place left that doesn't have that intensity. So it's exactly right. Getting that extra cropping, and if it's ours, then even if it's 10% of the land, it's a big contribution. It's a potential gain that they could have in the future.
Yeah, and it's getting it in without jeopardising the following almond crop, which we can do with the short duration salt tolerant and submergent tolerant, please, Australia.
Do we have more questions? We still have time.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Liz, if there's no other question, okay, there's one here.
I want to ask you about the way to judge the suitability of the cropping system. I know GIS software is pretty good to analyze for the spatial analysis, but usually not so good for the temporal analysis. So maybe the suitability can be changed time to time. So how do you tackle for that?
We've been very fortunate with our partners who've been able to tell us a lot about the temporal changes, water salinity, inundation, and I think I showed one slide where I showed the post-lava shrimp stocking, how that changes from week to week, the potential of when you could start to stock. You're right, GIS typically doesn't deal very well with temporal issues. It just means we have to do it for every time slice where we have the information. So I showed that huge list of data. Multiply that by 10 or 20, looking at the amount of times we have to do this analysis to look at the suitability at different times. So it's a huge amount of work. And again, I just need to say that it's Parvesh and the partners who've been doing superb work to pull all that together and make it look quite straightforward at the end of the day. It's a map with 3 classes, but the amount of work that goes into try and capture that is quite significant.
James.
Thanks. I agree with everyone who said that this is an amazingly good presentation and it's an incredible project. I just have a question. One of the main constraints seems to be infrastructure, the leakage of the polders and so forth. With predicted sea level rises, how many of these polders are going to have to be completely rebuilt over the next 30, 40 years?
So the project led by the Institute of Water Modelling is looking at some of these things, scenarios for the future. There's projects all the time in terms of strengthening the embankments, fixing the broken bits. I guess they gradually raise them. And is that correct, Morirata? The embankments are gradually being raised? The bigger problem seems to be the sluice gates, which fall into disrepair and leak, broken, some missing altogether. I've forgotten what the rest of your question's about now. Do you want to help me, Morirata?
Thank you. I think the Bangladesh Water Development Board is mandated to operate and maintain the polders and the infrastructures. And every year they spend huge amount of money. But Liz mentioned that they need to change the mindset. They are on the periphery. But we need to bring them inside the polders by involving them or sharing our knowledge to them. We have started already. BWDB is a partner of that, but it's a very difficult organization. It's a huge organization involved in the water resource management of the entire Bangladesh. So we need to change their mindset so that they can rebuild this infrastructure, especially the sluice gate, taking into the experience of the Mekong Delta. So we are really on the process of sharing our information to the Water Development Board. Hopefully, we will be able to pass this message so that they can take up this and then rebuild these structures to change to address the future climate change issues.
Do we have more questions? Okay, thank you for coming. And Liz and Andy, that was an excellent presentation. Job well done. And on behalf of the Thursday Seminar Committee, I would like to hand over to you this plaque of appreciation. Well done.
Please.